The Bill Jackson Documents Investigation, Part 3, LaFormule, by Charlotte Wheatley and Daniel Spino. The discovery of the LaFormule document began in the effects that allegedly Bill Jackson left Don Rue, which included a book written by Emanuel Anati called Palestine Before the Hebrews. It was at Zena Halpern's house, and on a trip to see her, Rue decided to look at it. They discovered that 2 pages were glued together like a sort of pocket, and inside they found LaFormule and the Oak Island map. The fact that 2 sheets of paper were folded and concealed between 2 pages makes us wonder what the point of this was. If it was for concealment, how discreet could this actually have been? It's an amazing coincidence that the documents were hidden in a book that involved Hebrews and Palestine, considering that Zena Halpern was an expert in early Hebrew language and had a great interest in this subject. It would seem to be a book that Zena would enjoy looking through, and would have probably known Emanuel Anati by name. Zena Halpern never met the mercurial Bill Jackson. The LaFormule document is in 2 parts. The top part of the document is a text written with symbols. On examination, they clearly resemble the symbols from the alleged 90-foot stone. The title above the encoded message is in clear text and reads LaFormule, which is the French word for formula. The bottom line also appears to be in French and reads Ving la valeur. We believe there is a T missing at the end of the first word, vingt, where the document was cut. This whole line probably means 20, the value. The code of LaFormule consists of French words, so it stands to reason that the series of symbols should be deciphered in French. Here are a few elements we would like to point out. Avec un angle. In this construction there are 2 prepositions next to each other, avec and a. This is not grammatically correct. This sentence would translate as with at angle. Hampi. It has been suggested that this word might mean shaft. This is correct, but not like the shaft in a construction. It actually means the shaft of a broom or a spear. It can also mean a branch without leaves. To us, this suggests that this document was made with the use of an English-French dictionary, and that the writer wanted to translate shaft into French, but chose the wrong translation. The use of the article UN in front of mille is uncommon for a French speaker. We find this same mistake in many of purported Bill Jackson's documents. As with the other Jackson documents we have analyzed, we showed this to our French language specialists, and both have confirmed that there are various constructions that seem unnatural and do not make sense. They agree with our conclusion that this was not written by a French speaker. It seems that this document was originally in English and translated with a dictionary, but what would be the point in doing this? Why would a person unfamiliar with French try to encode French instructions? Why wouldn't they simply choose their mother tongue? Was a French theme necessary for some reason? Another interesting point to mention is that the text is written inside a shape, which we imagine represents the original document. The outline of the shape and the coded text were rewritten in what looks like ballpoint pen and later photocopied. One of the symbols overlaps the shape, which doesn't really make sense. If the symbol was originally within the border of the shape, it would not be overlapped on a photocopy of the document. To our surprise, in the Scrolls of Onteora, we learn about 2 other documents with the same shape as the LaFormule. According to Don Rue, one of these was found by Bill Jackson while recovering stolen documents for the federal authorities. The other, labeled as Fig 240 inches in Don Rue's book, is a piece of a larger document supposedly representing possible tunnels under Oak Island. We layered these documents together, and they revealed the same shape. Fig 240 inches is part of a series of 7 oddly shaped documents that fit together like a puzzle. In Rue's book, he calls it Part 1 of 7. This is an important piece of information to remember, and clearly represents some suspicious coincidences. It should also be noted that puzzle pieces like this were not invented until around 1760 by London cartographer John Spilsbury, who glued a map on a piece of wood and cut out the countries. The McGinnis connection. According to the signature at the bottom of the document, it was given to W. David Jackson by Jim McGinnis. Don Rue states this in his book. We know that after Jim's death, the McGinnis family found a copy of the LaFormule in his belongings, which consisted of 3 boxes of assorted Oak Island newspaper clippings, theories, other docs, and MISC items. Allegedly, the LaFormule document was hidden in a wall of the McGinnis home on Oak Island, as told by his immediate family members. Other family members disagree. James "Jim" McGinnis was very preoccupied with the Oak Island treasure hunt. Knowing his family connection to the island, this is not surprising. He is a descendant of Daniel McGinnis that allegedly discovered the money pit. We had the chance to read Oak Island Connection, a book written by Jean, Joan, Joyce McGinnis and Karen Margiano, who are all related to Jim McGinnis. In the book, it's conveyed that Jim McGinnis did indeed have a copy of the LaFormule, and that there was already a paragraph in French at the bottom when it was rediscovered after his death. Why would there be a eulogy for Mr. Hayward written on this document? It should be noted that Jim was a merchant sailor at one point, according to a McGinnis family member. Jim McGinnis was allegedly an undercover agent for the CIA, as reported by his immediate family, which reminds us of the supposed work Bill Jackson did with the Spartan Agency. We can confirm that Jim McGinnis was in the U.S. Army from 1968 to 1971, but we cannot confirm that he ever was a Green Beret or worked in intelligence before or after the Vietnam War, as claimed in the book and by some of his family members. Jim allegedly worked and lived in the New York area at one time, which is also where Bill Jackson allegedly lived at some point. Don Rue is also local to this area. Did he or Bill Jackson meet with Jim McGinnis to obtain the LaFormule? Why would Jim McGinnis give it to somebody else? Or did someone else provide this document to Jim McGinnis? On the bottom of the LaFormule, there is a note that Jim McGinnis addresses Bill Jackson as W. David Jackson. We have not seen any other documents in which Bill Jackson is addressed with his middle name in full. Does this suggest they were close? How many letters do you receive with your first name initialed and your middle name in full? Here Jim writes his name McGinnis, while on two of the letters he wrote, which are included in the Oak Island Connection book, Jim signs his letters as McGinnis. Did he change the spelling of his name, or was this written by somebody else? Why would he identify himself as Tim? To the compendium's knowledge, the McGinnis copy of LaFormule does not have the note of transfer between McGinnis and Jackson, which suggests that the note was made later by someone else. The 90 feet stone connection. It appears that some of the same symbols were used in both the alleged 90-foot stone cipher and LaFormule. According to eyewitness reports, the 90 feet stone existed and had strange markings, carvings on it. The cipher was not publicly known until 1948, when it appeared in Edward Rose Snow's Mysteries and Adventures Along the Atlantic Coast. This cipher was attributed to Reverend A.T. Kempton, who reported that he received it in 1909 from a retired teacher in Mahone Bay, Nova Scotia, for a book Kempton was planning on writing. The teacher is suspected of having been James Lietchi, who was a professor at Dalhousie University in Halifax from 1865 to 1906. Lietchi was retired and living in Lunenburg, Nova Scotia in 1909. Compendium Investigations has completed an investigation into the 90 feet stone cipher and will publish this series immediately after our current investigation. In next week's final part of our investigation, the compendium will look at the Oak Island map, which has been branded as the Xena map. We will share with you our analysis by presenting parts of an article we wrote together in 2021. We will also examine the senseless controversy that has come out since Xena Halpern first showed the map on the Curse of Oak Island TV show in 2016. Please visit www.theoakislandcompendium.com for the complete article and analysis. What is presented here is only a portion of the overall report. You don't want to miss it and all the other information that was uncovered. Bonne journée de la part du compendium. Good day from the compendium. Charlotte and Daniel